Just a little, little, hey, a little rock and roll. Just a little, little, hey, a little rock and roll. Oh, it's the kind of, hey, the kind of soothes your soul. Oh, it's the kind of, hey, the kind of soothes your soul. So you better get out of my way. Before I roll all over you. I'm an aerosol trooper. I'm an aerosol trooper. Just a sliding down. Good evening and welcome to the Dog Tag Diva podcast. It is Tuesday evening and I am very happy to welcome two amazing ladies to the podcast this evening, Pamela and Jessica of DC Dogos Rescue, a rescue dedicated solely to the breed of the Dogo Argentino. And I'm very excited and happy to have these ladies on to talk about this amazing and special breed. Welcome to the show, Pamela and Jessica.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
I'm very happy to have you guys on and happy to help. I'm going to be honest, I had never heard of this breed until 4 years ago when my husband first introduced me to them, and very excited to learn about them because they are definitely a newer breed that's gaining popularity. And I'm happy to have you guys on to talk about this breed and how the rescue came about, what we can do to help, and maybe and we're going to show some pictures of some amazing dogs and an adorable little video of a very special bonded pair. I was like, oh my God, come in here and watch this video real quick, babe.
We have fun.
So, Pamela, let's start with you. How did you get involved with this breed?
So funny story. I'm a Labrador person. I would always grew up around having Labrador. I still love them pieces, of course. My husband, he is a very avid hunter, and he was really looking into getting into hog hunting. Super popular here in the South and Florida for sure. We're really big into the wild hog industry down here. So he was looking into breeds of which ones to use, what are the best, and all. So he came across the Dogo Argentino, listened to their history, which is incredible if you ever have a chance to look at it. And so he was like, I was like, I don't want them because I'm a Labrador and I don't know how to handle these dogs because they're a lot. And everything you read is like not for most dog owners, not for a new dog owner, you need to be, I'm like, oh. So anyways, he's like, well, there's two on the way from California. So he's two.
Surprise.
Yeah, surprise. And so a couple months later, and I'm like, just finally getting, oh, this is great. He's like, I got two more coming. So then we had 4 of them. And it was the best decision that he ever made. And I ended up falling in love with them. And then we just, it kind of went from there. And then I wasn't involved with the DC Dogos Rescue at the time. I'd heard of them. They were in the developing stages because this was back in 2011 when I first got Dogos. And so that's kind of how I got into it. And, it's all kind of history from there. It really spiraled out of control for me not wanting Dogos whatsoever. And now that's like all I want.
And how about you, Jessica?
Mine, was kind of just randomly came upon Dogos. We got our first Dogo in 2013 and looked into rescue. There wasn't anything in California. I do remember seeing DC Dogos originally was in DC, and at the time there were only 2 breeders in California, which is crazy because there's so many here now. Yeah. So we ended up with our first one. I was a golden retriever girl. Like I was kind of scared of pitties and scared of the big dogs.
Ooh, we lost Jessica.
We lost her.
Oh no!
I didn't mean for you to get lost.
All right, we will try to get a hold of Jessica in 1 minute. But Pamela, how did you come into the rescue? Ooh, looks like she's come back on.
Will she come back?
She did. Oh, let me see. You're back.
Oh, sorry. That was so weird. Okay, anyway, so got a Dogo 2013. There wasn't any rescues, and she ended up being just like a little unicorn Dogo. We got a Belgian Malinois after her, and she totally trained him up. He's like psycho, but like a little less psycho than normal. But I really fell in love with the breed. They're just so intuitive. They're, very athletic. They'll do anything you want to do with them, but they'll also come home and sleep on the couch with you, all night if you let them. And my daughter was gosh, like 5 at the time, and Nellie was so good with her. And it really just had me, honestly, I knew about the rescue. I followed him on social media and stuff and kind of kept him at arm's length because I just had a feeling like if I started, I was just going to jump in, 2 feet first. And finally got reeled in. I think 2022, I started work, 2021, 2022, I can't remember. And here I am. I think I put as many hours into the rescue as I do my actual job.
Wow. So clearly you guys love the breed, and their history is very interesting. They were originally bred down in Argentina specifically to hunt wild boar. But they originally were crossed from like bulldogs and Irish wolfhounds and some of the other ones that I'm boxers and like a whole
Great Pyrenees, boxers,
yeah. So they come from like a long lineage of a lot of different types of dogs. So it is kind of interesting, like their personalities and that have and the role that they play and and like you said, here in Florida there is there's a lot of hog hunting. If you're as I just doing my research about the breed, there's several breeders here in Florida, and a lot of them breed them specifically for hunting. So obviously there's a need.
Yeah, for sure.
There's a lot of breeders in Florida. Not just a
lot. Yes, there are.
Yeah, I know. And just out of curiosity, I was like looking at breeders and things, and I'm like, I don't know that I would trust most of these breeders just posting these pictures of puppies, and I'm like, I don't. So it's a little scary. So what should people know about this breed of dog?
I'll start, I guess, and then Jessica, you can fill in what I'm missing, I guess. It just like what you're reading. I mean, they're definitely not a great start dog if you've never had dogs before. That's number one. You need to have like really tight boundaries. You need to put the time and effort in. Like people that think they're just going to get a dog and it's going to fall in line. It's not. They're rude. They're liars. They're manipulators. But they're super smart and they're very trainable and they're amazing. Once you do it right, you put in that time on a daily basis. They're incredible dogs. They're going to bond with you more than any other dog you've probably ever had. And so. They're definitely something that you need to do your research on long term. It's not like, oh, okay, well, if this dog don't work out, I'm going to rehome the dog at a year and a half, 2 years old. And that's just not, they get very attached to their people. They feel the loss when they get moved from their family. So like, you got to have the time. You got to have an active lifestyle or they're going to drive you crazy their first few years. You got to put the effort in. Like, there's just nothing about it. There's no other breed I can think of that compares to a dogo in terms of like what you need to put into that dog to make it the best dog ever. Because the last thing you want is for that dog to go get itself into trouble. And that's really what we try to push for when we try to home these dogs is like, hey, make sure you're doing this. Make sure you're following this protocol. And people think we're crazy and they think we're being mama bears or whatever. But it's really, we don't want these dogs to get themselves in trouble because when they decide to do something stupid, it's a lot, versus when a little dog does something stupid, so they can get themselves in trouble. And that's what we don't want because they're an incredible breed. They just need the right handler. So I could go on and on. So Jessica, go ahead and chime in.
I think another thing with dogos that is really unique is like how intuitive they are. They're very in tune with their humans. Like Pam said, they bond really hard to their humans. And, that's kind of part of what they were bred for is to be a companion and a protector. And they take that role really seriously. And so, if you're not showing boundaries, if you're not acting like an alpha, they will walk all over you. I mean, they will sit at your dinner table if you let them. Like they want to be in charge. They're an alpha dog also. But once there's respect, there's mutual respect. They're very human-like. It's so crazy, like with their emotions, because if they don't respect you, they're going to walk all over you. If they do respect you, you're going to have the best dog ever. So, we say all these things and it makes them sound like these crazy dogs, which they are, but they're also just the best companion. They will like ride or die for their humans and their families. It's not just one person, it's a whole family unit. So I don't know, there's so many amazing qualities about them, but you really have to be willing to do lifelong training, lifelong working, with this dog. And there's going to be setbacks. I think that's something I tell of all of our adopters too, is something will come up. Like, it's not going to be a smooth road, telling you now. But if you're on top of it, if you're willing to continue to set boundaries, and there's a lot of like introspection, I think, that comes with owning a dogo too, because they will humble you so fast. Like, you think you're on it, you think you are like, everything's great, they're so well trained. No, they're going to do something that will humble you, and you have to like take a step back and be like, okay, what did I do wrong? Because this dog is just reacting, in a situation. How can we reset and get back to where we were? And it's just, I don't know, I think it's kind of cool for like, your personal self. It forces you to like look at yourself. What am I doing, and why are they acting like this? Because they're a dog. At the end of the day, they're doing what they were bred to do. Yeah, through a lot. Yeah.
I know, and having the first time I was around them was back in September. I actually came to the rescue in Seffner, Florida, and met Pam in person and the dogs, and they are big up in person. And I am a big dog person. I've grown up with Rots and Rot mixes and German Shepherd mixes, and I had a Pity. I just had the Staffy, and so I am used to big bully dogs. And I was like, okay, these are a little bit bigger than what I'm used to. Like, my Staffy and my Rottie were about, like, my Staffy was like 60 some, and my Rottie was probably like 80. So they're like, the females are going to be like an 80 to like 100-ish, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and the
and
males
sometimes bigger. Yeah,
and males are over that.
Yeah. So they're bigger.
But I think one of the things that you said to me was like, they can be very pushy if you don't like set the rules right from the start. And I couldn't get the video to download from the site, but you had a video that you posted recently, Pam, of Tess, and she was just like, she's like, we're just having a conversation about personal space, and Tess is not a fan.
No, they don't. They're like, a personal bubble doesn't really exist to them. And so, I don't, of course, when we get a new dog in, I would never, but I know Tess very well, and there's, whatever, but it's those things when they first come in, we put in those boundaries, making sure they don't get in our personal bubble. We don't get in their personal bubble. Right. Because we got to learn that. So, but they love to get in. They love to climb on you. They think they're about, 15 pounds, and
they are not.
No. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you got to watch for those things too. I mean, even if they're climbing on you, sometimes it's like all in fun and play, but also too, what are they doing with that? Okay, do I need to stand up? Do I need to do a reset here? Are they trying to take advantage? Are they trying, so you're always like Jessica said, like, you're always like trying to improve yourself. What am I doing wrong? Letting them get away with more and more, they will keep getting it. They will just keep going and going and going. And so you just, at some point, you got to go back in. But they're amazing. I don't want to make them sound like they're just psychos, but they can be psychos, but they really, truly are amazing. And do they come like kind of from the factory ready to hunt, or do they have to be kind of trained to hunt? Yeah, I mean, it's weird. Like, some of them, they can tell, like, breeders will know, like, right off the bat if that one's going to be a good hunter or not. But the ones that I get to the rescue, I run a very large wild boar farm. We farm finished wild boar. And so it's very stimulating to the dogos there because of the smells and the wild boar running around. So not all of them care. Some of them you could tell right off the bat. I've got 2 males right now where they were obviously hunters and they want to hunt. And other ones, they would probably go and eat with them. They're like, oh, my friend. But it just depends on their lineage, where they're from, what they're exposed to, all that kind of stuff. There's a lot that plays into it,
Now, how is it when we have 2 dogos together? Or do they do okay? Does it have to be like from birth, or does it depend on where they're coming from?
That's so many factors, really.
Right.
Birth, siblings, we try not to encourage that. It depends on intros and slow intros and patience, and letting them like be comfortable in their space and know their surroundings before you decide to start introducing, especially a rescue, maybe that just traveled across 5 states, and then they get to the new home and we're like, give it a few days, maybe do a pack walk, distance, all this. They just literally got picked up from where they knew, which maybe they loved it, right? And then now you like put them in a car or a plane or whatever you did, and you went across 5 states and you threw him somewhere else. And I always tell people, it's like as if someone were to pick you up, take everything away from you and throw you in a country you've never been into. And then you're like, where do I eat? What language is this? I don't know what to do. It's a lot for them. It really is. And then they'll be like, oh, let's intro dogs tonight. That's not going to work. The dogo's like, oh, wait a minute. I got to check my surroundings here. I got to know what's going on. This isn't cool. I liked where I was. Why did I get moved? And so it's all about the patients, the homes that do the right thing and follow like the protocol and go slow, patient. And even when you do that, sometimes it still doesn't work. It's nobody's a given. So there's so many factors at play on that, how that's going to work out with 2. But 2 is great. 3 is great too. Dogos are great because their energy, like they play like lions. And so it's hard to find another breed that can keep up with them sometimes in terms of their, stamina and their playfulness. So yeah, but yeah, multiple Dogos do work out with the right owners.
I'll add to that too. We generally, as a rule in the rescue, won't mix same-sex dogs because a lot of the times Dogos will have same-sex aggression. And I feel like when I was first like learning this, like it was such like a negative, like I can't believe this dog can't just go to the dog park and get along with every dog. But when you think about it, like people, you don't get along with everybody, and maybe you like get along with them, but you don't want to hang out with them all the time.
Right.
They're very particular. And it totally has to do with intros. It totally has to do with boundaries. Like you're feeding 2 dogs out of the same bowl or bowls that are next to each other. It's just not going to work for Dogos. They're an alpha breed. They want to be dominant. That's just what their bloodlines tell them to do. So yeah, as a rule, we encourage people not to have same sex, even if they are litter mates, which we also encourage not to do. We see a lot of litter mate syndrome, which basically means puppies get old enough and they start like fighting, not like play fighting, like real fighting, within the litter. But sometimes if you have a submissive, different breed, smaller breed female, that'll work with a dogo. But 2 Dogos, 2 males, 2 females, it's very, very difficult because they all want to be on top. They all want to be in charge, and they are very particular about who they hang out with, and it's not everybody. So yeah, the slow intros, we have a whole protocol that we share with all our fosters and adopters, and we hope that everybody follows it. And it's kind of evident when people don't, because then Dogos don't get along. And it's just like, yeah, I mean, it's crazy to say that we know how they're going to act, but we know how the Dogos are going to act. Like they're still, even though they've gained a lot of popularity, they're still very intact in their bloodlines. And there are different bloodlines, but they all share very similar characteristics. And usually we're right, which sucks a lot of times, but they're very predictable for us because we see they do the same things. We can tell which ones are going to be maybe more particular with the dogs that they need to be mixed with. Some need to be alone. Some are going to be great. We call those unicorns that are just going to get along with everybody. Yeah. They're rare, but they do exist. Yeah. So it's just, it's a lot of boundaries. Boundaries is the biggest thing. If you give them boundaries, they will attempt to follow them. But it's also more like people following them. The people and the dogs have to follow them.
And one thing I'll add to that is that if you look at videos, and when they designed these dogs, and the whole reason was so they would have a breed that can go and do the whole hunt, not just part of the hunt, but they could go find, catch, hold. They can come home, be with the family. They could be with other dogs. That was the whole point. And so they're a working breed. Whether people like that or not, they're working breed, just like so many other breeds are, right? And I mean, I spent a lot of time down in Argentina, and I went down to the original, the grandson of the original creator of the Dogo Argentino, and hunted on horseback. It was an incredible experience. And they let out, I don't know, well over a dozen Dogos to all go hunt, and no issues. But those dogs knew their boundaries. Those dogs were working. Those dogs knew they had a role. I mean, they had a blast. It was one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had. And here they are, all these, intact males and females together. And Yeah, so yeah, that can happen. But here, what we've done is we've made them into pets, and so in a home setting, that's just not going to happen. That they don't have the stimulation, they don't have the outlet. No matter how hard you try it, it's still different. It's not being out in the open hunting, doing what they were bred to do. So here we are trying to tame a lion, and you can, yeah, exactly, and I guess you can, right? But because we're not all going out on horseback in wide open spaces hunting, right? So we're trying to make them into pets, and so we need to accommodate for that for them.
Right. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk more about the Dogo Argentino breed. And we're going to show some of the dogs that you have at the rescue now that are trying to find some homes.
Oh, thank you.
Signed up to fight for freedom. What a price you had to pay. Picture in a helmet, missing family every day. Your Lady Liberty, dressed like G.I. Jane. Some scars we'll never see. She will never be the same. She's a mother, she's a daughter. She's a sister and a friend. Standing tall in that uniform until the very end. When Uncle Sam called, she signed that line to serve. 'Cause you can't spell hero without her. On that old dusty base with the meadows that shine, she's been to hell and back for the stars and the stripes. Your Lady Liberty, dressed like G.I. Jane. And some scars we'll never see, and she will never be the same. She's a mother, she's a daughter. She's a sister and a friend. Standing tall in that uniform until the very end. When Uncle Sam called, she signed that line to serve. 'Cause you can't spell hero without her. Yeah, yes. For the ones that didn't make it, we will pause and then we cry. We can still see their smile in every sunrise. She's a mother, she's a daughter. She's a sister and a friend. Standing tall in that uniform until the very end. When Uncle Sam called, she signed that line to serve. 'Cause you can't spell hero without her. 'Cause you can't spell hero without her.
Welcome back. And I have Pamela and Jessica with me from DC Dogos Rescue, a nationwide rescue for the Dogo Argentino breed. And before that, we were kind of talking a little bit about their personalities. So clearly they're an athletic dog because they were bred for the hunt. So this is not a dog for a family who has a sedentary lifestyle or maybe couch potatoes.
Usually not. Sometimes we get couch potato dogs too. So when we pair dogs, we make sure we know what the home energy is like in the dog, and sometimes it's age, they might not need a really active home because they're 9,
Right. Because they're older. And what is the life expectancy of the Dogo with the average?
Ooh, online you'll see, I remember when we got started into this breed, it was around 10 years old. I always feel like any year after 10 is a bonus. I just had my original OG Dogo. She passed away last year. She was 13. That's really old for a Dogo.
Yeah, mine was 9.5.
Yeah.
We wish they lived forever, but unfortunately, yeah, I think 10 is pretty good.
Are there any diseases that are kind of particular to the Dogo, or just general big dog stuff like bloat?
Yeah.
We see a lot of cancer. We see quite a bit of cancer. I don't know if it has to do with, their white coat. We see a lot of hemangiosarcoma, mast cell tumor. What other ones? I mean, those are our two biggest ones.
Those are the two big, osteosarcoma.
That's pretty common with them, and it maybe just because of their light pigmentation. I'm not sure, but we do see a lot of that, and a lot of not just in rescue, just across the board. I think
across the board, right? And then because they're white, they are prone to deafness as well.
They are. They are prone to deafness because of the white. And a deaf dog can make a really good pet as well. One bonus is that on the 4th of July and New Year's,
Don't have to worry about them.
they don't wake up to every little noise, but they can make a really good pet for the right home. And there are homes that literally that's what they want is a deaf one. So they can make and sometimes they're only unilaterally deaf, and then sometimes they're both. But it really just kind of depends.
I saw a comment pop up. I was just making sure I'm not missing anything. So let's show a couple pictures. That we've been talking about this breed for 25 minutes now. Let's kind of take a look at what they look like.
Oh, Liza.
Liza Minnelli. So we sent her out of I should know this. She's been with me for 2 years almost. I think Collier County down in Fort Myers. There's been a huge bunch of dumping of dogos in the Fort Myers area of Florida. We don't know what's going on. I've actually got 2 right now from Fort Myers area. And so there was 5 of them or so that ended up, dumped in at the shelter. She's incredible. She's very athletic. And she's a lot of fun. She actually gets along with other dogs. And she's very smart, witty. She would do really good with agility. She doesn't care about hogs. She's that kind of dog. But Liza, she's a hoot.
And what about this breed in general when it comes to like smaller animals? Like maybe you have another smaller dog, or maybe you have a cat. Or does it depend on the dog?
Yes. Most times I would say no. Sometimes yes. I have a little dog, and my dogos get along with her. Would I put everyone with her? No. But it's really cautious. We always were like, just the other day, we're like, do we have a cat friendly dogo out there right now? There's someone that really wants one.
I think we were looking at some of the dogos that are looking for foster, and Nala came up, and I was like, oh, this is like, she has to be the only dog in the home. And I was like, oh, we have a kitten. That's not going to work. So.
No. I like to tell everybody that, dogos, pretty much every dogo has some extent of prey drive, whether it's for squirrels or birds or lizards or something. It ranges from almost none. I don't know if I've ever met a dogo that doesn't have any prey drive. They have it in them. They have it in their bloodline to be the predator looking for the prey. Some are really like, they want to go and hunt. Some just like lizards and will chase the lizard every once in a while. But yeah, I think it totally depends on the home. It depends on the boundaries. It depends like, where does your cat have a place that it can go? And are you prepared if there's a chase? Like the dogo's going to chase,
Right.
I wouldn't I don't know. I'm usually like, I would be careful with your kitty cat. It looks like a snack sometimes, so be careful.
Keep them separated and never alone.
Yeah, exactly.
Always monitor for sure. Yeah.
What else we have here?
Oh, Nala.
Speak of the devil, there's naughty Nala right there. She is I love her. She was saved. I wish Emily were here. I think it was out of Maryland or Virginia. Basically, some kind of it was a breeder who got in over their head and couldn't get these dogs in a home. So they were 5 or 6 months when we took them in with zero socialization, whatever. And so she is awesome. She is a lot of fun. Got the best zoomies ever. We call her a mini dogo because she's only about 78 pounds. That whole batch of dogos they were really young. They didn't have, I don't know, maybe they didn't eat enough. I don't know what it is, but so they're all on the smaller side. So like you do see, we call minis when they're under 80 pounds. Which still I guess isn't mini. She loves people, loves kids. She loved boy dogs. Like she had a huge crush on Wyatt and on Chief when he was there, like huge. It was out of control. And, but she was in a home recently with a male, and I thought it was going to be the best home ever for her. And it was a military home. And she decided that she just wants to be queen of the castle one day. And that's that. And so she didn't want the other dog there anymore. So now we've learned that, we're not going to put her in a home with another dog. And, we were wrong, and I hate to say it, but we were. And I really thought she was going to thrive because it was just a great home doing all the right things. So even when we do everything that we're supposed to do and make sure we do, I mean, our process is rigorous. I mean, it's okay. Application, we do background, we do multiple interviews, we do home videos or a home check. We call your vet, we call your friends sometimes and make sure that you're going to be a fit, And so this was basically a great fit. And so now she's coming back to the rescue because we always take our dogs back. And we're going to work on her a little bit and try to, I don't think we'll be able to correct that, I don't know what she's got, naughtiness she's got. I know there's going to be a home for her. There's a home out there that, they just want a dog that they don't need to have another dog or have the dog around other dogs.
And how old is Miss Nala?
She's 2. She's 2. She'll be 3 in December.
So still got a lot of years left ahead of her to make a great pet for somebody in the right home.
Yeah, like she'll be like, and once she gets properly leash trained, because she needs to work on that. She's great on leash, but not when she sees other things. Apparently, she would be a great hiking dog, super adventurous. And it's just gonna take someone to really work with her and stay consistent, and not have another dog in the house, of course.
And this was the dog that I believe when I was at the rescue last year, she was like swimming in one of the big containers, like one of the barrels.
Yeah, she's a water dog. She likes to put her nose in the water and blow bubbles and she's just got a lot of character. She's a lot of fun, but she loves a home that's one of her requirements. She loves a home that has water. So we're like, you gotta, even if it's just a bucket that you can put her in, she wants water.
All right, we have our little pirate fellow here.
Oh,
Eloy. He's with me too. That is a hunting dog through and through. If it moves, it grooves. He's going after it. We use him. We've had to use him for rodent control on the farm. He don't even like lizards. So, hogs either. He is a hunting minded dog. He loves to be outside and he loves a ball. A big squishy ball. That's his gig. He likes to bury and hide his stuff so that he can go get it later. He is a very dominant male, but he doesn't react to any other dogs. He's really good. He's a great dog. We found him. I think Dee took him in, and I feel like it was at Fort Lonesome. I don't know if you're familiar, but that's a really remote area of Florida. Not much out there. And so we don't know if he was dumped, got lost on a hunt or whatever. He had, entropion, which means both of his eyes were basically folding. And so he couldn't see very well. And he was just full of infection and mess. Right. And so we get him, and then he immediately had to get bilateral eye surgery. He had to get neutered, and then he also had heartworm disease. So he was a very expensive intake. And he's still with us now. We got him in January. And so he's fully recovered, super healthy, nothing wrong with him now, runs around, does his thing.
And how old is he?
We think he's around 5. We've got a lot of good energy. He would be a great fit for someone who knows the breed, and really wants to work with him and an active home. Definitely an active home. And like I said, he prefers the outdoors. So we don't typically promote outdoor homes. We don't want our dogs, living out. We want them living in a home, be a part of the family. So he's the kind of dog where I'm like, even if you had an outdoor kennel to kind of give him both of that, we know now that he needs that. We've had him in a home temporarily just to do a temp foster situation. We learned that the environment was a little stressful being indoors, which I've seen that happen before with rescues. So that's what he's used to, so we want something where it's a kind of a combination type of home for him, but we know there's the right home out there. We just got to wait for it to come along.
And the markings on the face, that is part of the breed standard. That, even though they are mostly white, they do have these spots on the face, which is acceptable per breed standard, correct?
Yeah, a little bit. And Jesse, correct me. I don't remember. I'm not a breeder, and I don't remember the breeders will probably chime in. There's an allowable amount, and I feel like it's 10%.
I think it is 10%, right? Just on the face.
Just on above the neck, or is it just I don't remember, but there is allowable, per breed standard of what they can have for markings.
Yeah, my husband is
actually a brindle. Usually we'll see a really dark black, and his actually has a little brindle to it.
Yeah, my husband is a sucker for those pirates.
Oh, we all are.
Yeah, they're so cute.
Who is this little fellow we have here?
Slater.
That's Slater. He's with one of our case managers actually in Maryland. I don't remember. He came from Florida, I think, too, right?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
did. And I can't remember the details. I know it was a really messed up story. And then he ended up, I feel like they reached out to get our help and then we couldn't help. And then I think they ended up, I don't remember, dumped him somehow. I don't remember. It was something really messed up.
A lot of the times, like, it just is timing. Like, I think Emily had another a long-term foster that got adopted into an awesome home. I think she saw him, kind of loved him. It's something about these dogs. We love them all, but there's certain ones that just kind of grab at you a little bit. And so she had an open kennel, so he ended up going up to her in Maryland. And I think he's a pretty dominant male too. She's done a ton of training with him. He's been with us for a while. And just like Pam was saying, we're really selective with our homes. So, yeah, sure, people maybe look and say like, oh, you've had this dog for a year in the rescue and look at, I applied or whatever. There's all these applications, and we appreciate it. It's just we're not willing to sacrifice, the standards that we've set for the homes for these dogs because we want it to work. We want it to be not just good. We want it to be perfect. Mm-hmm. And so if that means, we need to limit intake, which we do because we only have a limited number of fosters, we need to limit it to the fosters that we have so that we can keep them in a stable environment until they find their forever home. Then that's what we do. So, Slater's with Emily. He's been getting awesome training and it's just, she has such a great home environment for him and his perfect home will come too. So I think he's doing great too. He's probably what, Pam, like 4 or 5?
4-ish. Yeah. I think. Yeah. Great dog. Handsome dog too.
Where do you think, do you have more rescues that are coming from like the East Coast, the West Coast, Midwest? Like where are most of these dogs coming from?
Florida and California and Texas.
Yeah, those are the problem states.
Yeah, Florida, California, Texas. Texas, I think, is in 3rd. I think last year we don't keep track of every request that we get. There's just no way. But we keep track of the ones we are able to take in. And last year, California won that award. Whereas Florida, and I think this year might be Florida. So but we still take them in from. I mean, we've taken them from all over the country, from Washington State to Texas to Oklahoma, Indiana, everywhere. So, but yeah, definitely those the 3.
And do you think, I think Florida, I mean, I can kind of guess because like there's, in the southern states, because, they've got the hog hunting and they get this dog and they want to hunt and they change their minds or something to that effect. But is there hog hunting in California or is it just because they like the look of the dog? And
there was hog hunting in California. I don't know, Jessica, if that's still allowed out there.
I think there's I think it's very strict now if there is hog hunting. I don't hunt. I don't know a lot about hunting. Other people could chime in on that one, but maybe that's how it started. I think Texas, that's also why we see it. There's a lot of hog hunting out there.
Right.
California, California is a little special. And I think that part of
we're going to leave it at that.
Yeah. They're just such a beautiful breed. They're a beautiful looking dog. They're machismo, they're athletic. People look at them and say like, I want a big dog that's going to protect my family and don't realize everything that comes along with it. I think also we saw a huge boom. Well, in 2020, AKC recognized the Dogo Argentino as like a recognized breed. And that's really when we saw a big boom in breeding and poor breeding. There is good breeding. We need good breeding to keep, breed standards and keep our dogo going. But there's a lot of really poor breeding that doesn't consider temperament or health or where the puppies are going or anything like that. And during COVID, I kind of assume, it's people weren't working, they're looking for money. A lot of people were breeding and selling these puppies for crazy amounts of money to whoever would buy them, and no spay or neuter contract, no follow-up at all. And so we're still, I think, seeing the fallout from that, from these dogs that never got spayed or neutered, ended up having puppies. Just to people that aren't quite equipped for like an advanced type dog like that. But we have there's a ton in California. It's terrible. There's always dogos in the shelter. and we just are limited. Like I have a great group of volunteers and people who help out here, and adopters. We have some amazing adopters out here, but there just isn't enough to keep up with the need. So we're trying our best, but we generally do try and get more dogos east, or at least out of California, because we just find more qualified homes a lot of times outside of the West Coast.
Yeah, I want to show the logo of the rescue. So if you want to follow DC Dogos, you want to help out, this is the logo that you are looking for. Your organization is, you have a website, and you are also on social media. You are on Facebook as well. Any other social media sites? Instagram?
Yeah, we're on Instagram and TikTok as well. You can find all that on the website. And one thing I'll add, I'm glad you brought that up. We had some, I don't know, what do you call it, hackers or whatever. Some fundraising folks where they try to act like they're you. So if anybody, is interested in becoming a donor, a sponsor, a monthly donor, help out with a dog, whatever, always go to our website, dcdogos.org, because the donation links on there are links. They're not going to be fake links and stuff. Like, there's a lot of that going on. All rescues across the board are seeing that happen, and that money, you never get it back, and it never makes it to where you want it to go. So definitely check out our website. Our adoptions list is on there too, our application, the foster list, anything. So, yep.
Our merchandise store.
Yeah, merchandise store.
I know I have to order a shirt myself. So what is the biggest need that you have now? Is it money and volunteers? Obviously, rescues, I think, always need money. Is always good.
I think at the top is funding. That is something we have. This year has been, last year, it started last year, and then this year has been a really bad struggle trying to get the funding in. Jessica and I talked yesterday about this and what's going on. And, if you're not pulling at heartstrings and you don't have a bunch of sick dogs, people don't donate as much. And I don't think what people realize is the operational cost of it. On average a month, and we don't even have that many dogs right now on our list, probably 30, just an average month of veterinary costs across so far this year, it runs about $11,500. And now if we end up getting like a serious medical case or something like that, that's going to even probably increase that more. So that's a lot to sustain. Like I said, we're across the country. We don't have a facility. We have to use vets as we can find them. Hopefully they give a discount. Some don't, most don't. Even if they do, it's a small discount. We appreciate it. We love it. But it's, funding is our biggest thing right now. And a lot of what we do as well is we don't love boarding our dogs. We're not the kind of rescue where they're going to take a dog and just throw it in some boarding facility. You came to my place, and yeah, we have dogs there, but they're also getting socialization, training, a lot of enrichment. They're getting out, they're going on walks. I have volunteers come there and walk them. We're not into just putting them into a boarding place and let them sit there. And you'll see that in certain rescues, and it's unfortunate. And sometimes you get in a situation where you do have to put them in boarding, but very temporary is a key, but that's still a cost when we have them even in boarding. So we have like some of them are foster boarding, or if a foster has, more than one dog, that ends up being expensive for that foster. So, okay, now let's give that foster some financial help. Let's pay for the food. Let's pay for all these things. So now the rescue is covering, all these extras, food, treats. So then that's why we're trying to we'll put out there our Amazon list, our food list, helping out in any capacity, whether it be financial, monetary donations, it all goes to the dogs, or you go on the Amazon list and you buy actual needs, you buy them the collar or like a stuffy or treats, it's all going to the dogs. Prevention, we provide that to all of our foster dogs. That gets expensive. Heartworm treatment, and we get quite a few with heartworm. There's so many expenses, and I don't think people see that. Once a dog is in the program, think about your dog, how expensive it is just to have a dog at home and multiply that, that's what we're covering.
Yeah. And
so often we'll take in a dog like, oh, this dog's super healthy, and we get a dog and they're like, oh, wow, we need to get to the vet and have major surgery, hours later, you're like, oh my goodness, but we never regret it. That's for sure. We always do what's best for the dog, but it's something else. And so funding is a big thing right now. We're really pushing for finding grant money. We could really use some help writing grants, locating grants. I've put a team together, a great crew of volunteers. They've been with the rescue for years and years, and we're working on that. And that's something that we're really focusing on, just so that we don't have to keep begging everybody for all their money.
Well, I think, one of the great things about rescue is that, if you can't take an animal into your home and rescue it, and you can't foster it, there's other ways that you can help, like writing letters, writing grants, reviewing applications, helping you guys with that process. There's so many other things that if you want to get involved and you love this, hey, I learned about this great breed, but I can't take an animal into my home, but how can I help the rescue? There are so many other ways that you can help the rescue. Even if you buy one toy off the Amazon wish list, to that dog who gets that toy, it's all the difference in the world.
Yeah, exactly. It's less, stuff for us to buy. And like what you're saying, we're nationwide, and we all, I've got it set up to where we all operate on cloud. So like everything is all shared. So like you don't have to come somewhere to help with whatever, if you're a social media person or a graphic designer or a financial person, there's something for everybody in our rescue. This is a business, and we have to operate as such. And so there's so many things, I've got people that help in certain areas. They don't want to know about the intake because it's too heart crushing on them. They don't want to know about those stories. They really just can't even handle it, but they want to help the dogs and they want to help rescue. So they're like, they help over here and they don't have to hear these stories that really pull at your heartstrings, and I think that's great. And there's room for everybody. And so we do look for volunteers that have all kinds of interests, background, experience, on a regular basis, and have a love for rescue and a love for the breed.
And even if you can't take a dog in, maybe you can help get a dog from foster to, or to the vet.
That's so important.
That transport, like I've seen, because I follow you guys on social media, and I was like, ooh, babe, can we help with this transport, with this and that? And so, there's so many ways that you can help this rescue if you want to get involved. I do want to show a video of a very special couple that's looking for homes.
Yeah.
That video was so freaking cute. I can't.
Jessica made that.
It was the cutest. So Brooke and Marvin are clearly a bonded pair.
They're married. Hello.
Forever and ever.
Together. What kind of home are Brooke and Marvin looking for?
So they've been with me. Marvin I think he's approaching his 2-year with me in August. Brooke will be with me for 2 years in December. She was dumped in Miami and he was dumped in Fort Myers. So they came at different times, just a few months apart. She was really shy in a shell. It took 3 days to even get her to come out of her kennel. So we're like, oh, let's try her with a dog. And we brought Marvin out and it really helped her open up. And so she's amazing. She's we thought she's going to be this shy, sweet little, quiet little thing. No, she's a little wild in her own way. Loves a kiss. And she loves you so much that she'll hurt you sometimes. They're the best of best of friends. They get along so well. They look for each other, and we don't typically say, oh, these are a bonded pair, they got to go together, because now their adoptability has gone down, right? Who's going to be able to have 2 dogs, let alone 1? But with this pair, they really are a bonded pair, and I would hate to separate them. It would just be devastating, and it'd be hard for her. And they do so, they're ready to go. So somebody that's ready to take on, don't have any dogs, has experience, maybe they had a broken heart, they're ready to start, bringing another dog to their home. This pair is ready. They'll be great. They're probably going to need house trained. I will tell you that, they will house train pretty well. Most of them do really well, with proper training, and we help with that. But aside from that, they're just ready to go. And it needs to be an active home when they'll take them out and about on walks, adventures, have a yard so they can explore. Marvin is very much an outside boy. He was most likely a hunter in his earlier years, for sure. Brooke, she don't care about that stuff. Whoever.
She's a homemaker.
She loves food. That's her jive. She loves food. Their personalities are huge. They're a lot of fun, and I know there's a home waiting for them that's ready for 2. So, and like I said, they've been on this 2 years. It's their turn. As much as I hate to see them go, it's going to be a hard day, but I really want to see them in a home together where they're the center of attention, where they get AC and they get, all that stuff.
Yeah, definitely. You do have out in Seffner, you do have a nice area out there. Clearly Marvin likes to swim.
I love that video. It sucks.
That was a really fun day. That was on, they got married on Valentine's Day, and it ended up being the windiest day of the year since the hurricane the year prior. And it was just stuff's flying everywhere. We had Corey and Sylvia there. They're volunteers for us. They're both Marines, and they come on Sundays to visit with the dogs, walk the dogs, help socialize them every Sunday. They come when they're in town, of course. They do great with them. So they were in that video. And so is Sarah. She's also one of our case managers, and she works for my firm as well. So it was a really fun day.
Don't forget D.
And D. Oh, D. Yes, of course. It was such a fun day. The dogs knew it too. They were just they knew that this was their day. It was like any married couple. It was they were just loving it.
It was his version of trash to dress. He just kind of jumped.
I love how they're so cute. They always are checking in and kissing each other. In a couple of the videos, they are just oh, just want to make sure their partner's next to them. They just give each other little kisses. They're so cute.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. I appreciate it.
No, it's adorable because I follow you guys. I knew they had gotten married, and I could not remember if they had gotten adopted yet or not. So I'm happy to show the video because maybe we can get it out there.
Yeah.
And we can find Brooke and Marvin a really nice home for this nice couple.
Live the rest of their lives. We're trying to work on their honeymoon. We haven't gotten to it yet. We do have something planned.
But they are really cute, and I really enjoyed meeting the dogs when I was out there back in the fall, and because they really are an amazing breed, and the more I learn about them, but they are not for everybody. And that's why you have strict requirements for your adoption. Are there anything on an application that are definitely hard pass, no go, not having a fence, first time owner, anything else that anybody thinking of adopting from your rescue that should be aware of before they even put an application in?
Oh, I should have had that list ready, but no. That's D. That's her department. Let's go see something. Sometimes it's so many different things. Sometimes, honestly, if they're too young, if someone's going to apply and they're 18, 19, 20 years old, and they're probably a great, they could be great with dogs, but it's too much for someone that young, in our opinion. It's just too much responsibility. So sometimes it's that. And sometimes it's just, they're applying for dogs and they don't have any experience, and they've had a Bichon, and we're
not the same
home and where they're living. And you're this is, and and then they put for activities, we're going to take them to dog parks.
No, just no.
Research. If we could tell they haven't done an ounce of research before applying, it's just no. You got to do some research on this breed before applying.
Yeah, we spend a ton of time on the applications. It is a major time suck. It's worth it, but it's I think part of the reason is we don't really have like hard lines, where we reach out and we do a lot of phone calls, and you can usually tell, like we've all done a ton of these phone calls. You can tell if they're going to be cut out. There is a Dogo personality, believe it or not. You can tell, if they're the type of personality that's going to take this seriously. And this is not just another dog. This is a member of your family, and you need to have rules with them, just like you would with your kids. But yeah, the fence, it's like, I'll be like, yeah, this is a hard no, but the fence it just depends. Like, how active are you? Are you going to go on a 5-mile hike every day? Do you run every morning? Are you going to take them out for an evening walk every day? Are they going to be on a leash every time they're outside? Okay, then that's a different conversation. Same thing with cats. We talked about cats are usually a no, but like, my cats have their own room. They have their own space that the dogs don't go in. The dogs don't go upstairs. It's like, okay, well, then that's a different conversation. What happens if the cat gets out? Every question has a secondary question,
Right.
Same with kids. We usually don't adopt with two like babies. We had a year where there was a ton of dogs returned because there was a nip or there weren't boundaries. And it's obviously understandable. A dog bites a child, like that's a big problem. Right. But where did that stem from? Was that because there wasn't boundaries? Was that because there hasn't been training with the dog? Kids don't have boundaries. Adults don't have boundaries. It's a huge multifactorial thing. But not to say, I think for everything that we say we're not going to adopt for, we've probably adopted to that situation in a certain specific situation. We also, we have new adopters all the time, people we don't know, but we have a lot of returning adopters, and those families that we know better because they have a previous DC Dogo, sometimes they'll take the more difficult dogs, or they have a special situation that maybe someone we don't know, we wouldn't feel comfortable putting a dog in that situation. And it's hard because people get their feelings hurt, and it's, it's not that you're not a good dog owner. It's just, we're a rescue. And like Pam said, it's a business. And our number one priority is to put the dog in the best possible home and make it a success for them. So if we don't think that you're the right fit, doesn't mean that you're not a good dog owner, or that you'll never be able to have a Dogo. Or, if maybe you're renting a house and you buy a house that you can't reapply, or you're 19 years old and in a couple years you reapply, it just means like the dogs that we have right now are not a good fit. So it's a huge, it's a huge undertaking to do the applications. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
It is.
Well, I really want to thank you ladies for coming on tonight and talking to us about the Dogo Argentino breed. If you want to know more about DC Dogos Rescue, you can check out their website or check them out on Instagram or Facebook. And please, if you can't bring a dog into your home, please feel free to find a way to help out this rescue in some other form, because they would really appreciate it for this amazing breed. Pamela and Jessica, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. I really appreciate you both.
Oh, thank you for having us. Yeah, thank you. It's been great.
You're very welcome. I'm the Dog Tag Diva, reminding you to greet each day with purpose, passion, and tenacity, and be kind to each other.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.